Spend that extra 5 minutes looking through what you're going to take with you and make sure that you've got what you need in order to be successful in that meeting and truly add that value and bring that unique perspective that you have and utilize that seat at the table, because that's going to give you more invitations to future meetings. People are going to start recognizing you as a subject matter expert in your field, and you're going to be able to really build on that brand. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Career Coaching with Jessness. We're continuing the fun today on a series that I started recently on how to use ChatGPT to be a better employee with real examples that I've used for work. So I've got 3 more tips for you today. If you haven't tuned into the previous episode, it is episode 6, where I share the first 3 prompts that I have used to become a better employee. And in that episode, I show you just how messy your prompts can be. So if you are out there opting into every top 10 prompt list or trying to perfect the perfect prompt, start with that episode, because I go over a lot of just kind of basic understanding of how it doesn't matter at all. Just put some stuff in there and you can always refine. And today will be a little bit of a shorter one, 3 more ways that I use chat just to increase my effectiveness, make sure I'm thinking through all the things before I get into a meeting or a planning session or whatever. And I hope that you find this helpful. Tip number 3 for you is use it as a thinking partner. And I love doing this when I'm doing content creation. So oftentimes what I'll do is I just brain dump all the things that I'm thinking about adding into the training. And then I ask, what angles might I be missing here? What are some reflection questions I should ask myself in order to better approach this particular topic? So I recently did this for a course that I'm creating on the topic of meeting management and how to get better at meetings. I'm still working out the fun title for it. Like meeting master sounds a bit, bit corny, but I need something that's going to appeal to a lot of engineers. So it can't be too corny, but meeting management is the course that I'm building. And it's a personal big interest of mine, which I think is a really nice way of saying it's a huge pet peeve. When people don't manage a meeting well, and it's no shade on them. I don't think people intentionally set meetings to waste people's time, although it happens. It's not the intention. It's not what people set out to do, right? People aren't waking up in the morning like, how many meetings can I be just completely unproductive on today? I don't think anyone is thinking that at all. So it's an area that we can practice and get better at. So I could go on and on about meetings and how to make the most of them. Perhaps we do an episode strictly on meeting management and how to navigate them. But I will share just 3 very quick tips on what ended up being in this training. 3 of them, 2 of them were, what I typed in there and typed into chat. And then one of them was sparked by a response that I got from chat. So the first one is have an agenda. Duh. It's pretty straightforward. But how many meetings have you been in this week with no agenda? I would guarantee pretty much all of them. Or look to your next week, right? How many of your meetings next week have an agenda? I would probably assume most of them. So just add one in, right? It helps both people understand, what are we going to be doing here? And what do I need to prep, if anything? Second thing is being relevant. So make the best use of people's time in both what the topics are and invite the right people. And we can dive in more to all the specifics of that and the strategies behind that in another episode. But have an agenda, be relevant, right? Make the most of people's time and get the right people in the room. And make sure you're not over inviting people. I think that happens a lot in every industry and job. And if it doesn't, let me know. I'm really interested on the topic, and this course has not gone live yet. So I'm still open for, additions or iterations, if you will. And then the third one is prep. duh. But what I really like about this is doing a pre-mortem. So oftentimes we think a lot about, okay, how did it go right after the event happens, right? How did it go? Let's reflect. What could we have done better? What do we need to improve for next time? But this is getting ahead of that even, which I think just 5 stars. Do a pre-mortem. Plan for what could go wrong. Anticipate the needs of the people in the room. What questions are they going to have? What kinds of topics may branch off based on the original topic that you have? And have those answers to the questions or some thought behind some other sidebar topics that may come up so that you can then make the most of people's time. Because I guarantee the hardest part about meetings is oftentimes finding the time with everyone that you need to meet with. So once you've got everyone in the room, capitalize on that. So anyway, those are my 3 things that came out of just using chat as a thinking partner, walking through some of my ideas, confirming, all right, these are great. And then also it sparked this pre-mortem idea, which I instantly fell in love with because I love a good, look back at it situation and see what could be better, but I love the anticipation of it. And as a hypervigilant gal like me, raised that way, pre-mortems are easy peasy for me. It's already what my brain does. Anticipate what could go wrong and have an answer, have a fix. So now I'm just applying that to meetings and it's working out great. Second tip for today is ask it questions to help plan for important meetings. So this can help keep your brain fresh and current. So some prompts I recently asked it was, what's important to talk about in a meeting with my boss's boss? Often these are called skip levels, where you meet with, a level above the one right above you. So you're skipping a level up. And so I wanted to just kind of jog my memory of what are some productive things that they're going to care about, and then what of my work is going to be most important to highlight. So you can get some great ideas before you go into a meeting with someone new or someone cross-functional. And I've got some examples too that we can go through, some additional prompts that you can play around with. Second question is that I used most recently for my strategic planning as we headed into Q4, which we're almost through the first month of Q4, which is wild. But what business issues should I be thinking about as I head into Q4? So oftentimes, Q4, it's the ending of the year, closing out a cycle, business issues like, did we hit our goals? Did our creative vision come to life? Were our strategic goals in alignment with business issues? Did we add value? Are we within budget? Did we did we offer the right amount of sessions for the right amount of leaders that we have going through our program? So those are some of the things that I'm thinking about as we close out the year and finish out Q4. But it was nice to get just a simple list. And sometimes I think chat gives you way too much information. You can add that into the prompt as well. You can say, what business issues should I be thinking about as I head into Q4? Give me a simple bullet pointed list. That way you don't have paragraphs and paragraphs of reading, and you can kind of skim through the list, see what resonates, and be on your way, right? Part of why I love using chat is it speeds up my work. It makes me more productive. I can get more done in a shorter amount of time. But if data for the sake of data doesn't help you. So having loads and loads of information is not going to be helpful if you don't do anything with it. So being really clear on what output you want it to give you, and by me saying, give me a simple list, helps me to sort through that information a lot quicker and then put it to work versus, okay, now I've got another reading assignment here that I got to sort through and figure out what's for me. So that's just another little side tip. A couple other questions that you might want to ask the chat when going into meetings to really ensure that, hey, when you're invited to a meeting, there's a reason for that, right? Unless, they didn't do a pre-mortem, but you're invited to the meeting for a reason to share a perspective, to share your expertise, to ask certain questions. There's some kind of synergy or cross-collaborational need for you to be there, or, you've got a seat at the table. So use it, scoot your chair in and speak up. So one of the things you can ask is, as a blank, whatever role you are, so I'll just use mine as an example. As a program manager of leadership development, how can I add value to my meeting with blank? And you can insert the other business units there, or the other roles that you're meeting with, like their job titles. Okay, so it could sound like, as a learning and development program manager, how can I add value to my meeting with my finance partners? Or how can I add value to my meeting with the customer focused learning team and the product development team, right? That'd be kind of a random meeting, but hey, there's probably a reason that all three of us would need to come together. So you get the idea. You can then say, give me a simple list of what are the values. What can I bring? And then you can't take your human, yourself, out of the equation here. So it may give you a bunch of random crap that doesn't work. And so don't just be like, oh, okay, yeah, these are the 5 things I'm going to talk about. If it's not relevant to you or true for you, or it's on topics that you don't know anything about. So I know that's common sense. I don't have to remind you about that, but just make sure that you're vetting, right? Like, because sometimes I get excited and I'm like, woo, like I put in the stuff, I've got the answer, and then I've got this list, and then I go on to the next thing. And then once I'm in the meeting, I'm looking over the list, and I'm going, God, none of this is helpful. So why do it in the first place? So spend that extra 5 minutes looking through the list, ensuring what you're going to take with you, what you're going to throw away in the trash, and make sure that you've got what you need in order to be successful in that meeting, and truly add that value and bring that unique perspective that you have and utilize that seat at the table, because that's going to give you more invitations to future meetings. This episode is brought to you by my Brain Dates, one-on-one conversations where we figure out your next move together on a variety of topics. You can learn more on my website, jessnessrequired.com, under the Work With Me tab. People are going to start recognizing you as a subject matter expert in your field, and you're going to be able to really build on that brand, right? People are going to go, Jessica knows something about program management. She's got great insight when it comes to what our leaders need in training, what problems our leaders are having, where they're getting stuck. We need that perspective. Invite her to this next meeting. And then from there, you're just maximizing your impact, right? You're being able to grow your career. And through that, you never know what meeting you're going to be in that provides a new example, or provides a new opportunity or a new idea, or it'll spark some piece of information that you wouldn't have got if you weren't there, that then helps you, execute on goals within your role, or come across with your manager. You could totally name drop, hey, I was in a meeting with so-and-so and we talked about this, and what we're working on is this, right? And so you can help yourself self-advocate by being in more rooms. Okay, that's one of the greatest ways. Information is power when you work at a company. The more you know and the more connected you are is a really big advantage. So a lot of that connection happens in meetings, right? Especially if you're remote or don't go into an office. I go into the office 3 days a week now, and the amount of just impromptu input and connection and information that I learned just being at the office, running into somebody, is tremendously valuable that I wouldn't have got working from home, right? And like, people aren't just like chatting, hey, did you hear about blah, blah, blah? Like, people just aren't doing that. They're not going to slack you out of the blue and be like, hey, I was in this meeting, but if I run into so-and-so in the hall, they're like, hey, you know what? I wanted to get your thoughts on this. Or, I thought about, our program on this, and they ask you a question. Then you get to share your input. So anyway, getting into meetings and networking and building a brand through adding value when you're at those meetings is a really, really great strategy for career growth. All right, my last question that I have in order to maximize your value, come across as, hey, important, helpful, and valuable in meetings is, what unique perspective or angle should I be able to represent or think about from my lens of being blank, right? So my role, from my lens of being a program manager in leadership development in a room full of blank. Okay, in a room, so it could be, what unique perspective or angle should I be able to represent or should I be thinking about from my lens of my role, leadership development program manager, in a room full of blank, business leaders, managers, first-time managers, cross-functional peers who do the same thing that I do, cross-functional peers that don't do the same thing that I do, regional partners that live outside of the US, whatever it might be. The more specific you can be with it, with that second part of in a room of blank, the more targeted and specific examples you're going to get from the other side. So that can be a really great way to just also do some of that pre-mortem, right? What angles? What should I be able to represent? Oh, I probably should be able to represent how many leaders have people on their team promoted every year. That would be a stat that I should be able to know. I should be able to add value to this meeting. Maybe it's, I should have an angle or perspective on what topics leaders need right now, according to what's happening in the business. Okay, so it's every one of our roles and our jobs are going to have a unique perspective or angle, aka expertise, skill set, background, that we can help color the meeting and bring some anecdotal or statistical or whatever to really help add part of your your world, your whatever world you're coming from, whether it be product development or communications or human resources, benefits, whatever it is. Just thinking about how you can individualize it in a room full of people. And there may be times where you're in that meeting and there isn't an opportunity to share, but it's going to feel 10 times better in that meeting, knowing that I've got something in my back pocket that could be of value to all of these people, and it's going to showcase what I know. And that, again, is brand building. All right, the last tip I have for you today on how to use chat to be a better employee is building agendas for meetings. Oh my gosh, I didn't realize all of these were meetings related. Okay. Well, here you go. You know what's on my mind. I mean, I'm literally building this meeting management content. So this makes sense that it's all in my noggin. But this is a really short and quick one. So the prompt is there a way to make this agenda clearer or more succinct? And if you did listen to episode 6, you know one of my favorite prompts in kind of tone and style is to tell chat, keep it friendly and professional. So the prompt I used recently for this, and I'm planning a full day in-person workshop for a cross-functional team, is it's a big adventure because we all are from similar learning and development roles, but different functions that are vastly different. So coming together and making sure that I use everyone's time wisely. Also, they're flying in from far, like East Coast, and it's a full day. It's 9 to 4:30, or well, I get to make the agenda. I'm writing it today. So the prompt that I'm going to use again to refine what I have is there a way to make this agenda clearer or more succinct? Keep it friendly and professional. Don't change the agenda bullet points because those are not changing. So it's essentially just rewording or rephrasing some of the things. And this allows me to just kind of get what's out of my head in not take much effort. So like the first draft looks something like working time before we get into the discussion, as the first bullet point. Talk through success metrics and determine which ones we're going with for the program. Confirm topics and make sure we all agree, right? So I wouldn't include those as the final bullet pointed agenda list, but you can just kind of brain dump, get it out, not use up all your brain juice to write an agenda, and then get that thing written, and then focus more on the pre-mortem, making sure, okay, do I have all of the information we're going to need to make these decisions? Is there any special guest we need to include into the room? Any stakeholders or sponsors? How can I make sure that each one of these topics is the most relevant thing so you can start to filter through and make sure, all right, is this the final list? Is this what I want people to go through? So those are the 3 tips. Let me know what you think. I am curious how you use chat to be more productive, effective, building your brand, helping to really capitalize on your expertise and all the things. So the contact info is in the show notes. And then if you've got a suggestion or a career question, let me know. Send me an email and say, hey, Jess, this is a topic for an episode that I want to hear, and I can take a look and see if it's something that I have, something to say, something true and something real from my lived experience as a career coach and corporate learning person, and we'll go from there. Okay, well, until next time, I'll see you on a future episode.